Hey, what's up, you guys? So today I thought I'd do something quite different and talk about all the books I've read this last month and just give my thoughts on them all. So when I was younger, I used to read all the time. Like I'd constantly have a book in my hand at night. I'd be using DS like as a torch to read books from. And yeah, when I went to high school, I kind of just stopped reading. I think most people do. They kind of don't know, just get bored of it or it's not cool or whatever. So this month, I decided I was going to start reading again. So yeah. So the first book I actually read was The Catcher in the Rye, and I'm so glad I started with this book because I really enjoyed it. It's quite an easy read, but I think it still really makes you think. It's not like a spoilery type of book because you're just basically following like a few days in Holden's life, who's the main character. And when I was reading other people's opinions about it online, I saw a lot of people saying like when they were younger they really related to Holden, but when they were older they just thought of him as like being whiny and annoying basically, and they didn't like the book as much. But I feel like I'm 20, I'm almost 21, and I think I'm at the stage where I can't directly like currently relate to him, but I know what he was going through in a way. I also think that a lot of people, when they call him whiny, basically, are ignoring the themes of like sexual abuse that are throughout the book. I think it's very clear that something's happened to Holden in the past, and also, of course, there's the death of his brother. So it's not like he's just, I don't know, complaining for the sake of complaining. Like he has had kind of a hard life. I actually kind of want to make a video just about the like themes of sexual abuse and stuff that's throughout the book, but I don't know, need a lot of research. But anyway, it's something I'm thinking about. The second book I read was The Great Gatsby, and again, I really enjoyed this book. I thought all the characters were like super interesting, really fascinating. The relationships between them all and how it works out, I just thought was great. And I don't have that many thoughts on it, but I did really enjoy the book. I'm glad I read it. Again, it was quite easy. It's really short. It's this one anyway, 160 pages. The next book I read was To Kill a Mockingbird, and I honestly absolutely loved this book. I could not put it down. Basically, the whole story is just amazing. The characters are amazing. I completely understand why it's regarded as one of the best novels of the 20th century. I read it in 2 days because, like I said, I just could not put it down. It was just so interesting and so fascinating. And I know there's a sequel, but I looked into like all the information about the sequel and how it was published and stuff, and it really just doesn't interest me. So in my head, it's a standalone novel, which is how I think the author intended it to be, honestly. But yeah, I cannot recommend this book enough. It's such an eye opener, and everyone should read it. Genuinely, everyone should read this book at least once. I read 1984, and I found this book to be slightly harder to read again, but I actually really enjoyed most of it. However, there's a section about 200 pages in, and it's a fictional book within this book, and I found it to be the most boring thing I've tried to read like this month. It honestly was just awful, basically. And I know some people, like when I've looked online, have said that that's like the main point of the book is like this section, like that's the main moral of the story. But I could not get through it. I gave up about 6 pages into it and just skipped to like where the story started again, because if I tried to read it, I would have gave up on like this whole book. And I'm so glad I didn't, because the ending to this is amazing. I could not put it down. It's so fascinating. And I keep saying that every single book. I'm like, oh, it's so fascinating. But honestly, like it was. I'm so glad I kept reading. But yeah, that section in the middle was brutal, man, honestly. So don't go into this expecting like a lot of big action, because it's not the type of book it is. However, it's really interesting, definitely worth a read. Next, I tried, emphasis on tried, to read Catch 22, and this was the first book I gave up on. I got to about 150 pages in and I just was so over it. I didn't like how it was written, with all the characters jumping between other perspectives, and I thought the dialogue was awful. Like, I know that's kind of the point, like the dialogue, there is a reason behind how it's written, but I just could not get into it at all. And when I decided I was going to stop reading, I looked online, like a summary of the plot, just to see what happens and think, well, maybe it will be interesting, but it just, no, it doesn't sound interesting to me at all. And I know some people absolutely love this book, like it's my dad's favourite book, but I just wasn't for me. I don't care about war settings in general, really, anyway. So yeah, I'm sure it is a great book, if you're into it. The next book I read was Wuthering Heights, and like 1984, this took a while to get going, but once it did, it was amazing. Like, I was so interested in the characters and the setting, and everything about it was just like so interesting to me. The characters are all so horrible, like almost all of them are horrible people, and that's what makes it interesting, just seeing what they're going to do next, because some of it is just, you can't believe what's going on. I thought it was so funny as well. Like, I genuinely thought this book was funny. I laughed out loud a few times at some of the things they would say, and I thought the main narrator, Nellie Dean, who's like the housekeeper for the families throughout the story, she basically just stirs up the drama. Like, she honestly goes in with a big wooden spoon and is just like causing mischief. Like, I actually read online afterwards that some people think she's the villain of the story, and I wouldn't go that far, but she definitely had a big part to play in just like causing drama, and I thought it was so interesting, and like, I loved it. I really enjoyed this book, and again, especially at the end, I could not put it down. I've really found that with a lot of these like classic books, is the ending, it's like a roller coaster. It just goes so hard at the end. Finally, the last book I read this month was The Picture of Dorian Gray, and I tried to love this book so much. Like, I really wanted to like this book, but I just could not get into it. I thought it was so boring. It's the shortest of all the books, I think, and it took me the longest to read because it was so boring, basically. When the story itself and like the plot is going, it's great. Like, I loved the parts with the story, but there's so much like endless dialogue between characters that just felt like it was going nowhere, or it was just trying to push, I don't know, intellect into you and show like, oh, these characters are smart, and I just thought it was annoying and boring pretty much. The actual story itself was great, but the way the characters just went on and on and on, I could not get into it. I thought they were so boring. So yeah, I'm glad I read it, and I'm glad I didn't give up reading it, but it was a chore to get through some parts of it. So yeah, those were all the books I read in January, and this was the first time I've tried to make a video like this, so hopefully people liked it. If people did, I might do it again at the end of February, even if people didn't like it. If I like it, I'm going to do it probably. I've got quite a lot of books in mind to read. Lolita's next, which I've actually read before, and I know I enjoyed it, so it'd be good to go back and read it again and just like pick up on like things I missed last time, whatever. So yeah, make sure to like and subscribe, and if you follow me on Instagram, I post like what book I'm reading, like as I'm reading it, and I sometimes just write like how I'm feeling about it at the time on there. So follow me on Instagram if you want, and yeah, hopefully you'll stick around.